What's going on, everybody? We are back. Thank you for tuning in to SKF Weekly. You see it? Yes, we are here. We are here, baby. It's your man's Ron, my brother John, Jose on the ones and twos in the background.
He's here. He's in the building.
We are full throttle, good to go today, baby. Out the gate. Let's go. Anyway, we got another great one for you scheduled tonight. We got a special guest co-host with us today, and you already know we got a special guest to talk to and chop it up with. This won't be necessarily an interview. We already interviewed this man and got into his life and know about him, and we just continue to see, his content elevate, his status grow. More and more people are hearing about him and knowing about him in our Knicks community, as well as outside of the Knicks community, because he handles a lot more than just that. But first off, let me ask my brother John how he's doing. What's going on, bro?
Man, I am feeling good. Excited to be here. It's going to be a dope show. We got some really good content creator coming on board as a special guest. You know what I mean? Our co-host, brother from another mother. Should we include? Should we just invite him? I
think it's about time. Let's bring him up. Let's welcome. I'm gonna have to kind of change his title. You know what I mean? He's been known as one fam. He might be two fams now. So let's welcome MBK fam and SKF fam, Mr. Eru Diehardknicks himself in the building. Let's go, Eru.
What's good, guys? What's good? Yeah, man, I got upgraded to the top tier level now, man. You're gonna have to start giving me some insurance.
You made the big show, baby. You made the big show.
I appreciate it, man. So now everybody knows that we're two different people. Me and John are not the same person. We're two different people.
You know what they say? Oh no, okay, all right. No, it's a PG show. It's for kids. Okay, whatever. Anyway, yeah, man, we are rocking and rolling. But you know what? As I already said, guys, we are here rocking with another special guest, and it's about time. We out. After our first interview was so great, and we knew we were going to get him back eventually, and time permitted and schedule permitted. So back again for us is Mr. I like to call him Mr. New York Post, Mr. SNY. Dexter Henry is in the building. Let's go.
What's up, guys? How you doing, Ron? Everybody, how's everybody doing? Everybody good?
Great, man. Good. Great to have you, brother. Good to see you once again.
Good to see y'all too, man. Thank you for having me.
Well, you know what? Before we get into our regularly scheduled stuff, it's not going to be too crazy tonight. We're going to obviously talk about these Knicks. We're going to recap a couple games, get into a couple little special things that we got going on in our show that we normally do, and get your takes and feedback on it. But first off, Dex, how are you feeling about the current season and these New York Knicks so far?
This season, Ron, has been... Man, it's been interesting. I think a lot of Knicks fans would probably agree with me in saying it's been a roller coaster for the team, right? Because it's been a wave of emotions. They started off slow. Julius Randle wasn't shooting the ball well, right? Everybody wanted to run him out of town. And then, they started playing a little bit better. You started feeling like they were coming into their own. Then they make the trade for OG Anunoby. And then January is amazing, right? They string off. They went 17 out of 19 going into February, and everything's looking good. And then the injuries come. And so I think Knicks fans, where they are now, and then they didn't play well in February. They only won 4 out of 12 games. I think where Knicks fans feel now, and I'm sure we'll get to Sunday night and Jalen Brunson and all that, is just, man, we know what this team could be, how good they could be defensively, especially if OG Anunoby's on the floor. I think they know that this team is serious in terms of playing together. The culture is real. You hear that word used a lot, but the culture is real. And I think they're just saying, man, if this team could get healthy, what could we see? Could they compete with the Boston? Could they get to a conference finals? I think all those things are legit possibilities because of the culture of this team. So I think if you're a Knicks fan, how I view the team is this is a really good team right now that just needs to be healthy. But that's a big if. and they haven't really been healthy over the past month, and they got some guys coming back. And the thing that concerns me a little bit, guys, is they're asking for basically their top 3 players to come back now at this point, and Brunson and Randall and OG Anunoby to come back and get ready before the playoffs and ease their way in and play really well. So it is a big ask, but I think what you want if you're a Knicks fan is, can you get the time? Can they get back here maybe around mid-March, be healthy, start to play together, start to gel together again? And can this team look like it did when it was rolling towards late January? So I think Knicks fans have to feel good about the culture that's in place, but I understand where there's a little bit of trepidation because of the health of this team and maybe not knowing what they're going to look like. But I think we just got to wait and let it all play out. And Randall getting back and OG getting back. And I didn't even mention Mitchell Robinson. It's funny, I almost forgot about Mitchell Robinson, who could be another huge piece, obviously, if he gets back and just adds to the depth. But if this team is healthy, guys, they're so deep. I think the depth is what makes them scary. And look, they just added Shake Milton. Alec Burks hasn't been playing really well, hasn't been shooting the ball well. They got a lot of depth, so we shall see. But I think if you're a Knicks fan, you have to feel good about where this franchise is. When you think about a couple years ago, where this franchise is right now is light years away from where they were. The culture seems good. They have an identity. They know how they're playing. So it's positive. I know fans will get down about the injuries, but I think when you look at this team and this season, you got to feel positive about it.
100%. I couldn't agree with you more. I think that's the best approach, because the a lot of peaks and valleys throughout an NBA season, and you could just hope that you're on the positive end of some of this stuff. And for the first time in a long time, I tell everybody when we're doing these shows, I tell John and when we're talking amongst ourselves, this is the happiest I've been in a while to see this Knicks team and just the potential of what can possibly happen throughout the season. But we'll see, man. Time will tell. But thank you for that, Dex. And it's always a pleasure to hear your takes, brother. And Eru, how you feeling about what's going on, brother? I mean, I know you got your own show. We talk about stuff all the time, but just in the mind of Eru, how do you feel about what you've seen with these current Knicks?
Well, I agree with everything that Dexter said, man. He covered all bases, basically, But if I could just mention like the culture thing, you take it even further, because I don't even think that the Knicks even had like the front office and the fans with the players, and I don't think that it's been this seamless since I've been alive. And I remember the Ewing years. I've been, I was a fan, all my life basically. But I started the Ewing years maybe my eighth year on this earth, and then it went all the way to the 21st birthday. So during that time period, man, we've seen so many different things happen, but I don't think we've ever seen the front office and, the players and everything, such tight together. Because even that 1999 year, we fired the GM. We went to the finals, but we fired the GM before the playoffs started. So it was like we always have something going on with the Knicks, but now it's just so exciting. So even to the point now that the whatever players you're bringing in there, everybody's buying in right away. That's exciting. And then we just have so much to wait for, to look forward to, as far as the injuries and stuff, who can come back. Everything is so exciting right now. And I don't think we've had a season like this ever, so that also makes it extremely exciting too, man. So I'm looking forward to everything. It's almost like an episode of Power or something like that. Like somebody dies, I'm not sure if they're really dead. Oh, here they come back in season 6 and stuff like that. So that's how the season has been, So I definitely appreciate it. I'm having a lot of fun this year, definitely.
Yeah. It's definitely dope. John, I know we have talked about it multiple times, and just looking at how this whole season has played out, we are always very positive about our Knicks teams, no matter what season it's been. But everything that you've seen, and what's been going on, and obviously since we've been kind of covering the Knicks and talking about them on this platform, how do you feel about this season in comparison to previous seasons?
I mean, I'm loving every bit about the season. You know what I mean? I love the sort of everything that, the front office has done in order to make us a better team. I love that we're starting to see Tibbs really rely on, the full extent of his team. Like he's going down to the very end of his bench. Deuce is playing heavy minutes now. And that's great to see, because, a lot of the time, especially early on in Tibbs' tenure, there was talks about him not being able to like work with the kids, not being able to develop, young players, and we're seeing it firsthand right now in Deuce. And we've also seen the maturity in the folks who have moved on, quickly matured very early and, got his game to a point where now he can start for a team, so just seeing the growth, not only in the players that we brought in, but also in Tibbs and sort of how he's matured as a coach. I'm also seeing, I think we talked about it in our last show, Ron, that I'm starting to see in-game movements, like in-game decisions. He's actually starting to like really rely on the team that he has on the court, and he's also able to shift in-game, which we haven't been able to see in those in-game adjustments of Tibbs. Like some people say we may have seen some of it last year, but I saw very little of it. I see sort of the maturity in the way he's coaching in-game and how he's willing to adapt. Even in this last game that we just played, he went away from Precious Achua, right? And he played down the stretch. He played, Bogdanovich. And that was a change. And, and so you're starting to see him really like rely on the players that he has and has been given to him, and being able to sort of adapt them to the style of play that he wants them to play. And so I think it's wonderful. I'm excited for this season. I'm excited for a playoff push. I'm hoping and praying that everyone gets back healthy. I think if we're in good health, our strength is like Dexter said, is in our depth. And that's going to be amazing to see in the playoffs. Yeah,
I couldn't agree more. Yeah, I'm like I said, once again, I'm just definitely excited and hoping for the best, man. Time they say time heals all wounds and stuff like that, and we got some wounds as far as injured players. So I'm hoping time will bring these guys back. But before we get into like the recap of this past week's games and just kind of different things that we've noticed from each game, and also, just stuff that's standing out about this current Knick team and what they've been to do throughout these injuries. One of the big narratives that's been going on with our Knicks is that, Tom Thibodeau is a major cause of a lot of these injuries, overworking players, pushing them to the limits. And therefore, because of that, some of these injuries could have been avoided. Not to mention, there might be some more injuries developing if he doesn't slow down. He is playing guys a lot of minutes, 46 minutes, 47 minutes. I mean, it's kind of wild. Yes, it might be a little excessive, but just the general number of minutes, like playing in the high 30s or even at 40. I don't think is extremely excessive, unless it's every day, every game. But here and there, and during a certain stretch, if you need a player to be out there and you can rely on them, and that's who you can depend on, it's a lot of that going on around the league. Like Tom Thibodeau is not really doing anything any different from what other coaches are doing in the league. Yes, lately, watching Deuce play 46 minutes or whatever, or 47 minutes, and watching, Josh Hart play 47 minutes, that is a little bit much. It's a lot. But on the whole, he's not doing anything extra excessive. And I want to get you guys' takes on this once again, because I know, Eru and I were just on Knicks and Bruises, and we kind of touched on this a little bit. But we got something from our SKF fan watch, right? And I want to put that up because I think it's a good indicator around the league of what's going on and how Tom Thibodeau is actually not doing anything that excessive compared to what other coaches are doing with their star type players. Let me see. Can we put up that SKF fan watch? And in this, you're going to see, there it is. I'll read it off because on the show we can't really see it as well. Basically, what it says is, shout out to Bankai, who I actually got to meet firsthand at the Morning Brew watch along with Tony Demo. Really good guy, and congratulations on your future nuptials coming up in a couple months. Bankai basically put up a post from Steve Popper. Right. And so Steve Popper put up, just for the It's Tibbs Fault crowd, When there is a knee-to-knee collision 47 seconds in and Randall falls awkwardly over a defender, the minutes per game are not unusual for star players. And Bankai said, why is it that we can't stick to factual information instead of resorting to made-up lies and misinformation? I don't get it. What happened to logic? So if you guys can see, this shows the top 10 players with regards to minutes. And these are star type players. Like Luka Doncic is averaging 37.5 minutes per game. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, 34.4. Giannis Antetokounmpo, 34.9. Donovan Mitchell, 35.7. Kevin Durant, 37.2. Kevin Durant coming back from, being out a couple seasons ago, and he's at an advanced age, playing 37.2 minutes per game. Devin Booker, 35.8. Jalen Brunson is at 35.4. Not at some crazy high number. He's right in the middle of the pack. Stephen Curry, 32.9. Jason Tatum, 35.7. And De'Aaron Fox, 35.6. So it just goes to the point that Tom Thibodeau really isn't doing anything extremely excessive with regards to the minutes he's asking of his star players. Like I said, I am not going to say, Josh Hart playing 47 minutes or Deuce McBride playing 46 minutes is good. That's a little bit more than it needs to be. But overall, he's been right there with other coaches around the league. So that being said, I just want to get around and start with Dexter. Dexter, I'm sure you've probably seen this going around and what's going on. And, Tibbs' history. And he's accredited with basically destroying Derrick Rose's career. But, I mean, I don't know. Do you feel like it's fair? And do you feel like it's, even if that was fair then, is it warranted now? What's your thoughts on it?
I think I'm so glad you're talking about this and brought this up, because I was having this conversation with Stephen Bondi, who covers the Knicks for the Post. Maybe about 3 weeks ago, we were having this conversation. And I've always said I think this is a very lazy take for people who say this about Tibbs. Last night, I saw something. Somebody, I don't remember who had tweeted it, but it was a graphic, and it had Derrick Rose, 36.1 minutes played when he tore his ACL, and then said the same thing about Jalen Brunson. I'm like, these are two. One, we didn't even know what happened to Brunson. So that part is just crazy, right? Two, it's not, neither things are the same. And I've been so glad, and what Steph told me in a conversation he had, he's like, when people bring up this narrative, was exactly the data that came out there. Tom Thibodeau is not playing his starters any higher, or his stars, if you want to say, any higher than any other team. The data shows that. Jalen Brunson is right there among some of the best players in the league. You mentioned Kevin Durant, who's 35 years old and is coming off of sprained MCL and has tore his Achilles and all these other things. Everything is relative, right, guys? Even the Josh Hart minutes, like you said, and the Miles McBride minutes. When I saw the minutes that Miles McBride played last night against Cleveland, he plays 47 minutes. That to me was more of an indictment that Tibbs doesn't really trust Alec Burks right now to play more minutes, and actually some positives for Miles McBride that he's being trusted to play big minutes and close this game. Now, I'm with you, Ron. Is it good in the long term? Is the wear and tear good on the players? No, we know that. We trust science. We understand how these things work. But the narrative, this is what we're talking about, the narrative that Tom Thibodeau is playing his stars more than Joe Mazzulla or Jason Kidd or Doc Rivers now in Milwaukee is just simply not true. So I love that the data is out there. I love that Steve put it out there. I love that Steve also talked about in his tweets about the Knicks have basically reduced practice to nothing. This is not the 90s where they were doing 3-hour practices with Pat Riley.
Right.
Those days are over. So I think some people just want to have a narrative based on what they think happened with the Bulls in the past. It was the same narrative, too, if you don't mind, guys, where Tibbs doesn't develop young players. Well, you mentioned this before, Ron. Look at what he's done with Emmanuel Quickley, who's now in Toronto. Deuce McBride, does he get credit for that? Are we going to give him credit for? We saw him trust Quentin Grimes, right, in his second year as a starter. We've seen him trust younger players. We've seen him make switches. He took Evan Fournier, who was a veteran, and took him out the rotation. So the narrative that he doesn't trust young players, the narrative that he runs his guys into the ground, it's lazy. And I'm calling the people who do it lazy, because to me it's lazy if you're not going to go and look at the facts, right? And this is where the facts matter. And I'm glad the facts are shown. So now this tweet is out there. I feel like if anybody says anything about Tibbs, just show them the tweet and tell them to shut up. Because you can't say this when Jalen Brunson is playing the same minutes as some of the other all-stars. That list, I believe, was full of all-stars that was there, right? The star players in this league. Jalen Brunson's injury last night is not a result of minutes. It's a freak injury. Freak injuries happen sometimes. Julius Randle's injury was not a result of minutes. Neither was OG Anunoby's. Neither was Mitchell Robinson. So, yeah, I'm glad you guys are talking about it in this form because I think it doesn't get talked about enough. And the only people I feel like really saying this, there's some media that's pushed this narrative too. So I don't want to act like media hasn't been complicit in this because they have. But it's a lot of fan push narrative. And I just think, come on, fans, y'all could be better. Don't be lazy. Like, look at the data. And now you see the data and it's out there. Respect the data. That's it.
Right. Yeah, definitely agree. I mean, it is what it is. And you know, the other thing is, like, I think what we know Tom Thibodeau is a creature of habit. And this is not even about necessarily the injury stuff. This is just to your point, what you brought up, Dexter, about the cultivating young talent and developing it. It goes back to the fact that, look, if the Knicks drafted a can't miss star, like a top 5 pick, and that, you know, that's the type of person that needs to be out there and deserves to be out there, that person is going to play. You know what I mean? That person is going to be out there. But when it comes to a person that still needs to develop in the league and is going to take a little time that person is going to have to go through the gauntlet of, you know, as a young player coming into the league, I expect that you're going to have to go through these lumps. You're going to have to sit on the bench. You're going to have to be behind this person. You're going to have to see how this person plays so you know how your role is, what we expect from you. And so I think it's just all about Tibbs just has a protocol of, if you're a young rookie player and you're not necessarily an upper echelon, got to start, got to be out there type guy, you got to run through the gauntlet. And he's already put guys through the gauntlet. And Deuce, like, say what you will, the proof is in the pudding. He's finally got to the point where Tibbs really trusts him, and he's earning more and more trust the more time he's got out there. But he had to earn this time because he was kind of like a fish out of water. He just didn't, even though he has some talent, really solid defender, but there's certain things about his game that Tibbs just didn't think he was ready. And he's starting to show that he's becoming more and more ready, at least at this year. So, I definitely agree with that.
And I was just going to say, and you got to give McBride credit for that because he was in a situation where he's behind quickly. He's behind Jalen Brunson, right? So it was going to be tough already for him to play. He stayed ready. He's now risen to the occasion. Another guy I want to mention who I thought played tremendous last night was Jericho Sims. Jericho Sims was tremendous on the glass in the minutes that he gave. And you have to give them credit. That's another young guy, two second-round picks, guys. The Knicks get a lot of – the Knicks front office, to me, hasn't gotten enough credit for some of the drafting they've done. I think people have looked at drafting as, oh, well, the Knicks didn't hit on this lottery pick. But look at what they've done in the 20s. Look at what they've done in the second round. Mitchell Robinson, Jericho Sims, Miles McBride. Those are all good picks and rotation players that fit the culture. That's how you build teams sometimes. It's not always with the lottery picks. It's what you do on the margins. And I think they've done a pretty good job on the margins.
Agreed. Before I get over to, I want to get over to John and then Ebru. I just want to give a quick shout out to the chat. Appreciate you guys. Thank you for tuning in on another one of those busy nights in the Knick community. You know, there's a lot of shows on Monday nights. And so definitely thank you guys for being here right now and supporting. Hit that like button for the show. Our special guest here, Mr. Dexter Henry. We got a special co-host joining us, Mr. Ebru from Diehardknicks and MBK and SKF. That's right. He's SKF Army too. You know, he's got to claim it now. So yeah, man. Thank you guys for tuning in. And also Replay Gang. Listen, I know, like I said, there's a lot of competition on tonight. If you don't watch the show live, please, thank you for watching in the Replay Gang. We appreciate you. But really quick, shout out to Walter Blackman, Dwayne Dennis, Craig, Legion of Knicks podcast, my guy Guillermo, what's good? Dripmore's in the building, Bricks Nation, Mets, Knicks fans, let's go. Mets 21-28. Shot Powers is here from Knicks Real Talk.
Yes,
we got Keith Watkins in the building. Appreciate you. And Delano Steele is here. Quiet Money's here. Thank you guys for being here and supporting the show as always. And Tony Crow is in the building. You know, dueling shows. He's all over the place. Salute, Tony, from NBK fam and Knicks and Bruises. So, Thank you guys. John, what's your thoughts on this whole thing? I know we go back and forth about Tibbs. Tibbs is a creature of habit, but how do you feel? Do you think he is kind of directly to blame for a lot of what maybe has precipitated a lot of these injuries, or even is he creating a culture for more injuries to come going forward? What's your thoughts?
Yeah, early on in Tibbs' tenure, I was looking at a coach that I felt like couldn't sort of change his ways, right? I was thinking like he's going to be a creature of old habits. He's going to be someone who, the Knicks can't rely on, to sort of take them over the threshold and, be a contending team in the playoffs year in and year out. And I definitely still have questions about him being the coach to, get us to the promised land, which is a championship. I'm still questioning that right now. But every day that goes on under Tibbs' rule, I'm starting to really just have a newfound faith in him, and I don't really feel like he is applying the pressure on players to play, but he is expecting players to be ready to play 40 plus minutes, right? And so if he needs them, that's who he's going to go with, right? If he needs them to play 40 minutes for whatever particular game that they're up against or whatever team they're up against, he's going to rely on the players to get them to win. And so at this point in time, with all of these injuries, you can't blame a coach for playing the guys that he trusts, because at the end of the day, you go out, the premise of the game is to win, right? The reason you have a coach is to coach and to win. It's not, I'm going to coach these guys to lose. So we can't have it both ways. As a Knicks fan myself, I'm looking at it and I'm saying, hey, if Deuce got to play 40 minutes because Brunson's gone, so be it. If he's down right now, so be it. Do we have any additional options off the bench that we can heavily rely upon? Right now, at this moment, we don't. Especially the way Burks has been, playing the last few weeks. And not to say that Burks is not going to be able to shoot himself out of this, because I think he will. He's a basketball player. He's been in the league. He's a professional. I think at some point he's going to figure it out. But I think Tibbs, as a coach, he wants to rely on the best team he could put out there to close out a game, and that's what he's been doing. And unfortunately for us, and fortunately for Deuce, his number's been called, and it's worked. So that's all I really got to say about it. So I'm okay with it. I'm okay with it.
Okay. Eru, I know we kind of touched on it a little bit on the last show in Knicks and Bruises, but is there anything you want to add to it? How do you feel about the whole the narrative of Tibbs, basically being the cause of a lot of these injuries and stuff?
Well, I agree with Dexter. I agree with John also. Just it's really just engagement now. Everything is the internet. Everything is Twitter. So people are just trying to get like the fire burning, so to get the spotlight on them to just build up their own engagement. So it's not really real takes. People are real lazy. They just want to start arguments that way. Because you see guys in the middle of arguments talking about, hey, look, 1,000 people watch that, man. So being relevant that way is more important than having like a real take. So that's a big problem in the sports world now, because we're talking about barbershop talk and that type of stuff. Yeah, barbershop talk was a real thing. We were talking with real people, and you get to shoot people's takes down, in that setting. But now it's the internet. So now people don't see each other. People can say what they want to say, and they just more care about getting their likes up and that type of thing, man, which is kind of weird, but that's just the way things are going now. I like that Dexter mentioned Sims, because Sims was in the doghouse for years, man. Like he's just been like always a step slow. I want to say, like, on all the reasons. Every time they call a timeout, you see Tom Thibodeau yelling at Sims, whatever, pulling them and stuff. But now Sims is playing his position now. And that goes through to give credit to Tom Thibodeau with his development of a player. Maybe Sims is not giving you the big numbers, but he's playing his position now. He's throwing, not throwing elbows, but he's securing his spot. Guys can't move him. He's fighting for rebounds. He's getting nice little layups and dunks every once in a while. So he's been fantastic in that way. So Tom Thibodeau needs a lot of credit in that way. Another thing with fans too, they say that Tom Thibodeau run plays. That's another narrative. Recently you can look at from when Tom Thibodeau had Reggie Bullock standing next to Julius. That was our play, because look at the talent that we had. Now look at the evolution of the game here. We're adding better players here. Now you're seeing Dante DiVincenzo flying to the basket with Hartenstein giving him the backdoor passes and stuff. You see a lot of stuff, other stuff happening that you never seen before. So this is just Tom Thibodeau opening up his bag, just when it comes to his personnel and stuff like that. So just I just wish that the fans, instead of getting involved in an engagement war, just to start fighting and stuff like that. Like I said, pay attention to the game. Because right now we're people, instead of arguing, like we're like in the best time right now to be a Knicks fan, because there's a lot of basketball to be talked about night in and night out, with players being missing and stuff like that. So to pay attention, really enjoy the game, and just see how simple it is, because we traded RJ, bro. We traded RJ, we traded IQ, and then people were so worried about that, but then we brought OG in, and look how different the team looked. So that should open fans' eyes as far as the game is concerned. But it is what it is. People follow the game for various different reasons, man. But for a basketball fan, man, this is like the best time right now.
Right.
There is one thing I do want to say though, in regards to like Tibbs and overplaying players. There is a moment in time when, for me, if you're in a blowout game and you're like completely out of it, there's no chance of getting back. You're 20 points down, 2 minutes left. Pull your guys. You know what I mean? Pull your guys. Like at that point, you know what I mean? At that point, you pull your guys. But outside of that, you know what I mean? You play to win.
He brought Brunson back in with like 4 minutes left the other day, so that was crazy.
Yeah. Hey, Dex, I'm not sure. Let's get a check on Dexter.
I realized my mic was off. Sorry about that.
Oh, yeah, you're good. You're good.
No, but I was saying, I was agreeing with John. I was saying I thought that was a good point. John, I was saying that's fair. That's totally fair that when he doesn't do it in blowout losses, I think that's a fair critique that you can look at. And if it comes to burn the Knicks, then, that'd be really bad. But like in terms of the minutes, it's time to shut that narrative down and give credit where credit is due, look, no coach is perfect. Tibbs isn't perfect. None of us are perfect. Right. But you know what? Tibbs is a good coach, and you got to give him credit for instilling a good culture, the front office seeming in him to be on the same page. I think after this year, it's definitely time to be talking about a Tom Thibodeau extension. There's no way I can see them with him going into next season as a lame duck head coach. I don't think no matter what happens this year, he's done a good job. And, I think, Eru, you brought up a good point about him adjusting to different players coming in, the roster changing, and the continuity still going on, right? It's not easy when you bring in a person like an OG Anunoby. Credit to the front office for signing a guy that fit well, but then he's got to adjust, and he just fit like a glove. I believe that was Julius Randle's quote on that. He fit like a glove with this team, and we saw that. But that's also coaching and culture, and you got to give credit where the credit is due on that as well, too. That's all I had to add. But I agree with John on that sometimes him leaving players in late, that can be a little maddening, and I understand that from the fans. I do understand that.
Right. That's my only critique
Very
there.
true.
Question for you, Dexter. If the Knicks are one and done, do you extend the coach?
Yeah, I think you have to, man. I do. Now, let me also say this, though, John. It depends on how they're one and done. Like, if they get swept and they look terrible, then I understand where you might want to be thinking a little bit about it, because that would be a step back. There's so many factors to say, because I caught myself in saying that, where I was just like immediately like, no, but there's so many other factors too. Like, who do the Knicks play? How do they look against them? Does Tibbs get like thoroughly outcoached? And I hate saying that. Like, there's a lot of factors in how it looks. If they lose in a last second shot in a 7-game series, but the team played hard, no, I think you bring them back. Obviously, I think if they get to the second round and beyond, you bring them back. But I think, for me personally, and for some of the younger Knicks fans out there, because I heard you were talking about this too. If you're watching this Knicks basketball right now, for some Knicks fans out there, this is the best basketball you've ever seen in your life in terms of the Knicks. You've never seen the Knicks be this sustained good. They are likely on track to make the playoffs for the third time in 4 years. How could you have a coach do that and not bring him back? That's kind of wild to me, right? Like you would do that and not bring him back. What are the coaches done this recently? And so somebody, and you guys know this because you see this on social. somebody's going to say, well, Dex, he didn't elevate them. He didn't get them to the conference finals. He didn't. You got to crawl before you walk, right? Mm-hmm. He's made the necessary moves to put him in a situation where the Knicks are a serious team. The organization's being run competently, guys. They just added 3 players to their roster this year, and they didn't give up a first-round pick. When's the last time the Knicks did that? They're the ones getting fleeced in the trade. So all these things to me says Tom Thibodeau, if he makes playoffs for the 3rd time in 4 years, I might even say, unless, like I said, they get embarrassed in the first, you got to extend them and bring them back. You got to extend them and bring them back. Now, when expectations change, and I think they will, depending on what the Knicks do this year, do you start talking about, is he the coach that can lead you to the promised land? That's another discussion. But I think as a coach who set the culture, built what this is in the last 3 to 4 years, you got to extend them and bring them back. I think it would be kind of ridiculous if they don't, especially if they get to the 2nd round and beyond, especially if they do that.
Yeah, he would have he would have earned it at that point, right? Like if we go past the 1st round, you've earned your tenure here. So being given the opportunity to get an extension on this current contract, it makes all the sense in the world.
And here's the other thing, John. This is the other thing I'd add to that too, because anybody who wants to counter me, and I'm sure willing to discuss and debate that. But okay, who are you going to get out there that's better? That's the real question. Like everybody wants to switch a coach and do this stuff. Who are you going to bring in that is definitively better, right? I mean, maybe there's some coach or assistant coach on some other team that you really like, sure, but they're unproven, and I'm not sure you're going to go out there and get that much better. It's not like Steve Kerr's coming in here walking through the door. He just re-upped in Golden State. You're not getting Greg Popovich to leave San Antonio. Spoelstra just locked in with Miami. Who are you getting that is assuredly better and going to take? I'm not sure. Not sure.
But you could even add, like, anyone who does come in, you have to make sure they mesh with Brunson and the Villanova, team. Right. Like you gotta like this personalities that you have to mesh with. Who's to say that a Steve Kerr could mesh with the guys that we have on this team currently constructed? There's nothing to say that, right? All we know is that he is a player's coach, but he's also played a certain tier of talent. And does that translate here in New York, where in Golden State, he had the opportunity to not, right? And they would have not been that much press on him. That the pressure's different, so you gotta give.
To all you're saying, the fit matters, and I think one last thing I'll add, guys. And I know you guys probably want to move on. The one last thing I'll add is because there are going to be some people who say, "Oh, well, like, what if they don't live up to expectations in the playoffs?" And so much of that matters on if they're healthy, how healthy they are, all this other stuff. Here's something I think that's very underrated in sports that I talk about all the time. Continuity matters. That was the word the Knicks talked about at the beginning of this season. When I was at Media Day, that's all the players were talking about. Continuity. When you're changing coaches, all the good organizations, they're not changing coaches all the time. When you're changing coaches like you change your clothes every day, that's not good for your organization. I don't care what you do for work, whatever line of work you are. If the bosses keep changing all the time, how are you looking at your bosses? You're not respecting them. You're not respecting what's going on in the work at all whatsoever. So the Knicks have shown, if 3 out of 4 years he's made the playoffs, keep that stability going. Build on that. If he has a couple years down the road and nothing changes, then you could build on that. But stability matters. And I think people just want to change for change's sake, and they don't want to actually build and grow something here. Have your identity, have your culture, have the players that fit that, like you're saying, John, which is a fantastic point, and that fits with your coach, and build from there. Don't just be so quick. He's done a good job in 4 years. That's all I have to say. I'm not going to talk anymore about it, but he's done a pretty good job in 4 years.
You guys, I mean, you're spitting facts. This is what it is. Like, we're so quick to just, point the finger. And, coaches are always to blame. Coaches, managers, you're always the first, right? Because they control a lot of what's going on. But in Tibbs' case, I think, is he perfect? No. Is there a lot of stuff that worries us here and there about his coaching style? Yeah. I mean, I say it all the time. I don't really have a problem with Tibbs in the regular season, especially now, because I think he's learned a little bit. couple years ago it was a little worse, but I think he's learned over time how he should be dealing with these players in the NBA right now these days. So I think he's getting better. Regular season, I'm not worried. I do always have a little bit of question in the playoffs because I think sometimes when the pressure starts to mount, he sometimes reverts back to some poor habits. But I think he's still growing. I think he's still learning, even though he's at an advanced age. And when it all said and done, he's going to go down as one of the best Knicks coaches ever. I mean, it's just that's how our track record is. He just will. And if you want to talk about, oh man, we had a Van Gundy, we had a Pat Riley. Yeah, those guys were great, but they had egos, and those egos is what drove them out of New York because there was too much of that between them and the front office or the owner. Rather being more concerned about the team and us continuing to grow and have success. So happened. So you got Tom Thibodeau now, and let's not. Last thing I want to say about this before we move on is as to pointing the fingers about all the negative stuff that Tom Thibodeau does. And I see a lot of guys in the chat. Shout out to all y'all, man. Appreciate y'all. Thank you for tuning in. Smash that like button. I see a lot of y'all talking about how this team is good in some cases in spite of Tom Thibodeau. But that's what you want. That's one of the things I said a long time ago. Alec Burks being our point guard, first off, that was crazy when we had him before, and he felt like that was the only option we could have used. That's horrible. And I said, listen, you know how you get Tom Thibodeau away from having to use Alec Burks? Bring him somebody else. Put somebody else out there with talent so he can't rely on Alec Burks. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Oh, it's so amazing. Talent actually helps. Yeah. Talent actually helps, guys.
It helps so much, man. And we're at a point where we have a lot of talent top to bottom. Right. But the other thing, last thing, like I said, I wanted to say is all the negative stuff about Tom Thibodeau, his rotations, some of his usage, all that stuff. Let's not forget, guys, I don't care what we say about his development of young players and all this other stuff. When it comes to star type players, Jimmy Butler had his best statistical overall season, 2016, 2017, under Tom Thibodeau. Derrick Rose had his best seasons under Tom Thibodeau. Julius Randle, best seasons under Tom Thibodeau. Jalen Brunson, why are you going after Jalen Brunson? I mean, this guy's a backup. Best season under Tom Thibodeau. Karl Anthony Towns, best 2 seasons under Tom Thibodeau. That's all I'm saying, guys. He got to be doing something right for these guys to be playing at the best level they've ever played under him, as opposed to other coaches. So let's move on. I wanted to put that out there. Okay,
I want to ask real quick. The Bucks they have fired Mike Budenholzer, so he's a name that's available that we could pick up. But just to flip back to that, don't the Bucks wish they kept him? Because they got rid of him, and then they went and signed this other guy as a rookie, and then they bring in Doc Rivers now, so they look like a bunch of morons over there. They should have just stuck with Mike Budenholzer, because they were adding Dame, and some other people to the roster too. So they would have been smarter just to stay with the coach that won him a championship. He won him a championship, and then you fire him to bring in a rookie coach, which is it was absolutely ridiculous. So that's why I want to be careful not to do. To fire Tom Thibodeau and they hire some rookie or whatever hot name that you think, maybe Jay Wright or something like that, and he comes in there with no experience, and then we end up, taking a couple steps back. That's what I definitely don't want. So we got to be very careful with that.
Right.
And Budenholzer, I don't think anybody who's considering an elite coach. I saw somebody in the chat say elite coaches don't flop in the playoffs. There's been plenty of elite coaches that have lost before the conference finals. Like, it's not like there's a whole bunch of elite coaches every year in the conference finals. For example, would anybody have called Joe Mazzulla in his first year as head coach an elite coach with the Celtics? No, I'm not saying Joe Mazzulla will be a bad coach, but you know what Joe Mazzulla has? Talent. That helped him get to the conference finals. Just funny how that works, guys. Talent actually helps in this stuff. Tom Thibodeau did a lot with no talent. That first team that went to the playoffs and lost to the Hawks, where Elfrid Payton was his point guard. Elfrid Payton, guys. Now he's got some actual talent, as you astutely pointed out, Ron, with Jalen Brunson, and he's cooking with some of the talent. Let that man cook for a little bit. That's all I'm saying.
That's all I'm saying, man. We know he's not perfect, and like I said, who knows? Last thing, who knows if he's the answer to take us to the promised land? But right now, he's the guy. We need to rock with him. This team is built around his coaching style. So let's just hope they get it together. Hope we get our guys back healthy. And if you want to get real particular, let's not forget when we were healthy, 15-2 in January. Right? You know what I mean? Running through. running through
How many?
the league.
How much?
You know what I mean?
How much? 15-2,
baby.
That's
Let's
what I'm
not
talking
forget
about.
how it wasn't that long ago. Let's just say that. Okay.
We need
All right.
one more
So-
run in us. We got one more run in us.
Exactly. I just want to do a quick recap of the
Ron,
games this week.
Before
Yeah,
you
go ahead.
do, check to see if you're connected to your Wi-Fi. If you are, switch it to your landline.
No.
I just
And
want.
you know
I
what's-
was seeing some hiccups.
Oh, I'm frozen now. What's going on?
No, you're
here?
back.
You know
you're
what's
back,
funny?
You're back. You're
You're
back.
back.
But I'm on my landline. I don't know. Maybe my cable
Okay.
is not, it's
Okay.
having one of those
Just wanted
nights.
to-
I'm sorry, guys.
I
Apologize.
want to be sure.
That's live
Right.
podcast, man. It happens
Yeah.
every night, every pod, man. It's
Yeah, man. I mean, sometimes it's sporadic. I don't know what's going on. Anyway, maybe I didn't pay the bill. I covered. But anyway, thank you guys for joining us once again. I see a lot of new faces in the chat. Uncle Freezy, Blorange Tears is in the building. David Smith, and numerous others. Thank you guys. Please smash that like button. D-Ras in the building. All you guys, thank you for being here. So I just want to do a quick recap of the games. We had 3 games this week. Technically, we had 4, but as you guys remember, last Monday's show, we were live kind of covering the Detroit Pistons game. So we're not going to talk about that. We know what happened, right? But the next game that we had on it was against the New Orleans Pelicans, folks. And that's right. You said it. You guessed it. New York Knicks lost to the New Orleans Pelicans. Sorry, guys. It was 115-92. Yeah, it didn't work out the way we wanted it to. We knew it was going to be uphill battle, but it was a tough one, and it really wasn't. It wasn't that favorable for us. And we didn't. The other thing we didn't have, which was a lot of good shooting that night either. So when our shots, we kind of talked about the evolution, the changing of how we've become a team. With all these 3-point shooters on the team now, we become a jump shooting team. So we come into a game and we're not looking good, and the stuff ain't falling in the first quarter. It could be a long night. It was definitely a long night that night. And just to point out real quick, just so you have an idea, I don't think that there was anything that I would say stood out on my end in that game. I maybe the fact that I'm Bojan Bogdanovic had 20 points, which is what he is. He's the 20-point scorer guy. Whether he starts off the bench, he can get you 20. But no, they played better than us. There's not a lot to talk about in this game, but the reason why I wanted to get you guys a quick take on this, I think I'm done. Okay. I don't care. I know it's still, anything can happen in life. I'm personally done with the Zion Williamson stuff to New York. I'm done. If give me a healthy Julius Randle, I'll take him any day of the week over Zion Williamson. I don't care how talented he is. I don't care. Just give me Julius Randle healthy. I'm fine with that. I don't know how you guys feel about that. Dex, what's your thoughts on can we put the Zion Williamson thing to bed?
Oh, I think I would have been in a different. I'm kind of leaning with you on this because I think I would have been in a different place. Maybe like going into last offseason, I'd have been like, all right, take a flyer on Zion. Just a lot of things with him. There's a lot of things with him. One, the biggest thing is, and I think you're kind of leaning to this, Ron, availability, right, is sometimes the most important thing. I know we're talking about that where the Knicks are really banged up, but Zion Williamson hasn't been that available. You don't know if he's going to play. Then there's been the issues with his weight and stuff like that. And I watched the league a ton. So he just hasn't had the impact I thought he would have. And even when he's playing, and I think he's uber talented and so good and finishes so well around the rim, even the size he's at as a forward, he just hasn't, taken that leap that I thought he would in his game. So I understand where you're coming from. You know what Randle is. You've seen Julius Randle was playing the best basketball of his career, in my opinion, before this injury, just in the efficiency and the way he was actually taking shots. Now, the big question with Julius Randle is, can he get that done in the playoffs? I understand all that, and there's nothing about that. Everybody has every right to fairly question that. But, yeah, Zion is starting to get to a point, that draft class, you think of the top 3, him and, Ja and And RJ is kind of like, in a way, the most reliable of all of them, because I know he's going to play. The other two have had other reasons for not being on the court. But, I think Ja's has been the most talented and done the most with his talent, and you've seen the impact on the team. But Zion's left a little bit to be desired. So I don't think you're tripping on that. Like, I understand where you're coming from completely, Rob. I understand.
Yeah. Okay. What's your thoughts, Hebrew? How you feel? Are you rocking with Zion still, or are you off that Zion to the Knicks thing?
I'm off it, man, because I just watched him. When you get to watch other teams, you scout them. So just watching him play, he doesn't play like a power forward. He plays exactly like Josh Hart, to tell you the truth. He comes in there, he uses his athleticism to kind of hop, step, and drop his shoulder on you and get the layup. But he doesn't shoot. He doesn't take threes. He's a good ball player, though. He's a good facilitator. He can facilitate a little bit, but everything is with his, facing the basket. So if you get a player like that, you have to think about changing what you're doing. So if he was to trade for him, let's say like when guys were complaining about, we should trade for Zion, this, that, and the other, do you know how much we have to change the roster in order to accommodate a dude like that? You know what I'm saying? He's so small too. So, that's the one thing I worried about that. But just just his health scares me, man. He's only 23, but I can't see him playing the way that he plays like that with that athleticism for much, much longer, I don't know. That's just what I think.
Yeah, and I think, man, that's a really good point, Eru. That is a really good point about the fact of bringing in a guy like Zion. You got to kind of cater your roster around him because of his things that he's not good at or things that he's limited at. Because one thing I tell you, when I was watching him in that game, he looked a lot smaller. I know he's not that tall anyway, but he just looks smaller to me. And he's not a great rebounder anyway. Like, he's not Charles Barkley. He's not the round mound of rebound. Yeah, he's not so I don't know. And plus, last thing I wanted to say about it and get over to John, I'm just stating the obvious. I'm not trying to knock the guy, but he looked bigger to me this time around than I've seen him in the past. So that's just not a good sign to me. After somebody who apparently cut a lot of cancerous people out of his life, changed his diet, was going back on his health kick and trying to get into better shape coming into the season. I don't know how I look at that. Go ahead, John. My fault, brother.
No, we're moving on.
And I just want to say, oh, okay, cool. All right.
We're moving on.
So that's how John feels about it.
I moved on.
Okay. And once again, I just wanted to say, not a knock necessarily on Zion, but I will say that if you go into a season where weight is an issue for you, whatever, and if you can kind of get back into a different type of shape, change your diet and stuff, it might benefit you and take your game to the next level. Yet you're young and you can't really commit to it and do it. That's a tough one, because we saw guys who had already been in the league, star players who were fine just being the way they were because they were killing at that age. Star players been in the league. And when I talk about these guys, you guys remember, I don't know, maybe some of the younger people don't remember, but there was a time, a season, maybe about, I don't know when it started, time flies, so it could have been longer, 7, 8, 9 years ago, whatever, where LeBron James, Dwayne Wade, Chris Bosh, Carmelo Anthony, they all decided to get on this crazy diet and shrink themselves. And they all did it. They all got fit because it's what mattered to them. That's what I'm saying. Like, when you about it, you about it. So listen, I don't know.
I moved on from Zion last year when I was like, Randall's the better fit, better player. So
yeah, I hear you. All right, so that was that game. It didn't work out too good. You guys already know we were shorthanded and our shots weren't falling. There was a lot that just happened in that game that didn't work in our favor. Then we had the next game against the Golden State Warriors. And we were kind of going into it, as most Knicks fans were, like a little, some optimism. Hey, depends on what happens with Golden State. We played them before. We were able to beat them. But this is a hot Golden State that came into the arena. And unfortunately, they played up to par and continued to play well. And we just didn't have it once again. And this was definitely a night where the shots weren't falling. I think we shot 33 or 34% from the field, and we shot 30% from three. We out rebounded them 56-53, but in a game where You know, the Knicks are used to out rebounding teams by a good deficit. We only had them by 3, and we were missing our shots. It just wasn't enough. It doesn't spell victory. And unfortunately, you know, Steph Curry came into the Garden. Let me tell you something. I don't know if you guys know, but in that first quarter, Steph Curry looked like he was trying to make history early. He was doing a little temperature check to see if I could go off here in the Garden. he was going, man. But thankfully, it calmed down and it wasn't too crazy. Yeah, man. Dex, did you happen to check that game out?
Yeah, I did. Yeah, I watched that game. I thought the difference in that game for the Knicks was, you know, you talked about the rebounding there, Ron. If I remember correctly, they did not play good transition defense at all. Their transition defense was horrible in that game. They didn't take care of the ball. And when you play games like that you mentioned, where you're shooting 34% from the field, not hitting it from downtown, you know, it's the little things on defense. Now, it kept them in the game, and they was able to get some runs, but they were never able to get over the hump because the shot making was there. But they kind of shot themselves in the foot with the transition defense, the turnovers, especially late. They had a couple of bad turnovers in that game. So, you know, when you're not shooting the ball well and you're not finishing possessions on defense, they were rebounding, but you're giving easy buckets to the other team in transition, that's always going to hurt you. And that just hurt them in that game. And, you know, it's already tough because with all the guys they had out, they just didn't have enough firepower. And you could just see it. They couldn't. But, you know, look, they bounced back. They cleaned that up against the Cavs. And that was a completely different ballgame with the way they played there.
Right. 100%. Eru, your thoughts?
I agree with that 100%. You know, both games are kind of similar too. You know, the Pelicans and Golden State. It just, you know, I think the Pelicans, they beat us because their role players had a little bit more energy than our guys did. And their 2 top heavy guys, you know, Zion and Ingram. Also, they were basically getting their numbers. So the Knicks were just kind of stuck behind the door there. But against Golden State, same thing, like the transition buckets and stuff like that. The Knicks just didn't have that extra, you know, to get them over the hump. So if we had OG, I think OG would have you know, shut down a couple of those things that they were doing there. And you know, Julius also, you know, just if we had more firepower. We're missing 3 guys, you know. So if we had our guys there, I think we would have definitely shut those guys down with no problem. So it didn't really make me too upset, but you can kind of see how once our reinforcements come back in, how we can capitalize on certain things that we did wrong, you know, fix those mistakes. I was good with that.
Right. Yeah. So I just want to get John's take real quick on the game, and then I got one more, just, you know, our Cavs game, and I want to be respectful of Dexter's time, and then we got our BBG, and then we'll just do our little quick predictions for the week that we go into. But you know, after the next one, you can get out of here, Dex, unless you can hang. I only think we got about another 10 to 15 minutes left. But it's up to you. You gotta go.
I can hang with you for now. I got another 10. I'm good. I got another 10.
Okay, cool. All right, cool. John, your thoughts on the Warriors game, brother?
Yeah, when we just got outplayed, you know, it's simple as that. You know, they came out, they had sort of a concept that they ran. They understood they needed to stop Brunson and make everyone else beat you, and they did that. And Jonathan Kuminga had a game, you know.
Yeah, he did. That's right.
You know, he was really, you know, a guy who they relied on transition and fast breaks. He was knocking them down. He was really showing his athleticism, and we had nothing for him. But I'm looking forward to that next matchup. That's something I already checked out on the calendar. Like, I'm looking forward to that, especially if we're healthy. I really want to see what that matchup looks like.
So right. We'll shout out to Dripmore, the preferred barber of still Knicks fans, and the Knicks community is in the building. Let's go, Dripmore.
Yes.
He said Golden State got iced by 52 by the Celtics. Right. So, and I just want to say, believe me, if the Knicks were healthy and we had our complement of players, we would have smacked Golden State too. Maybe not by 52, but I'm confident we would have smacked them up and got that victory. But it is what it is. So let's circle it on the calendar and see what happens. And so that being said, we already kind of alluded to it a little bit. You know, the last game for this current week was the New York Knicks versus the Cleveland Cavaliers. And yes, ladies and gentlemen, we got to get that losing taste out of our mouths. We beat the Cleveland Cavaliers 107-98. And, you know, it was a welcome sight, man. Get back to winning, man. And that was a game that I think we needed to have. I think a lot of people would say we needed something, man, to stop the bleeding, because right now it's just a tough time. Any victory we can get throughout this period while we wait for some of our guys to possibly come back is a blessing, and it's definitely needed. In this game, the Knicks had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 guys in double figures, led by Dante DiVincenzo, Bojan Bogdanovic. Hey, guys, listen, if you didn't know the game and you didn't see it, guess how many points Bojan had? 20. That's
20.
right, because he will give you 20. And shout out to Deuce McBride, who played great, 16 points, hit some big shots down the stretch, played some really solid defense for us. Precious Achua just plugging along, giving us what we need to help going forward. Josh Hart, come on, man.
Hold on. Do the hashtag. Do the hashtag. What's the hashtag?
The hashtag is all heart, no quit, baby. That's what I'm talking about. That's what it is, man. It's what it is. It's what this team is made of. Yeah, man. 13 points, 10 assists, 19 rebounds, 2 steals, 2 blocks, and only 2 turnovers. Mr. Erratic himself, only 2 turnovers, folks. Give Josh his flowers, man. Come on, baby. And you can see at the end of the game, it was kind of funny. The last rebound came off, and Hartenstein grabbed it right in front of Josh, and they laughed at each other. And Hartenstein put his hands on his head. Because he could have had 20. It is what it is. It was just a fun time. It was good to see. But real quick, getting over to Dexter, what was your thoughts on, you talked about it a little bit, but just overall the game itself and the fact that the Knicks came to play on a game where we really needed a win?
Yeah, really needed a win. Jalen Brunson goes down 47 seconds in the game. I think this game is arguably the guttiest win of the season. It showed a team that was not going to quit. And I think if you're a Knicks fan, you got to be proud of how they played in this game. I think it's one to be really, really proud of because this team fought. They got up by 12 in the first half. You saw Cleveland come back and, then they take the lead at halftime. And you're thinking, all right, this third quarter is where they could fold. No, sir. They did not fold in the third quarter. They kept that foot on. Dante was fantastic. The Knicks really played well. And I think when you watch games like this, the thing I'll say about it is when I say gutsy and togetherness and all this stuff and all the heart, these are things that are going to encourage you if and when they get healthy. Because guys on this team are going to fight. You hear the term next man up. And the word culture used a lot. I've said it a lot tonight. This is the things that test the culture. This is what the culture is. The culture is, all right, yeah, we're going to gut. Our leader went down, but no, we're not giving up. We're going to win this game because, as Ron said, we need a win. That's a huge win for the Knicks. I got to keep it real. It was a terrible loss for the Cavs. If you're a Cavs fan, you lose the season series 2-1. You could tell me you didn't have Donovan Mitchell. You could tell me you didn't have Karis LeVert, all that stuff. I hear you. But no, that's a game you got to win if you're the Cavs. At home, the Knicks come in there severely, just without their best players. 3 of the best players out, and they still win this game. It's a big win for the Knicks. If some Knicks fan said to me, hey, that was my favorite win of the season, I'd understand exactly why you said that. That's a win where I just looked at and said, man, you got to be proud of this team if you're a Knicks fan. And I think it really is encouraging for the team going forward. I'm really intrigued to see. I was talking about this last night with Tyreek Butler of ESPN 98.7. I'm really intrigued to see what this win could do for them setting up this week and this homestand before they go on a 5-game road trip. It's the kind of win where you're like, okay, this gives this team confidence playing. We got the Hawks, they play tomorrow, and then the Magic on Thursday, right? These are the kind of things that can give them a lot of confidence in that, saying, look, we just did this without Jalen Brunson. So any win you can get at this point of the season with the way, they had some teams breathing down their neck, that was a huge one. Big win, arguably the guttiest win of the season for New York. Yeah.
And then the Knicks just keep piling those type of wins on. If you guys remember, the Philadelphia win was one of the big wins for us too. We needed that win. Eru, your thoughts on the overall game against the Cavaliers? And let me tell you, shout out to my guy John, because he texted me while I was in the kitchen cooking. Brunson went down, and he knows. Yeah. My response is no. Hey, Eru.
Well, the Knicks opened up a Zillow account in Cleveland, man. We got a lot of real estate over there, man, in those Cleveland Cavaliers fans' heads, and especially this guy Evan Mobley, man. Evan Mobley was so somber after the game, I couldn't believe it, man. So, we took their heart from them, and we beat them. I'm quite sure they're talking about in the locker room that we beat them without Mitchell Robinson. Mitchell Robinson is in their nightmares. He destroyed them in the playoffs, man. He didn't even play, and we still beat them without Brunson, without Julius. So it's like, we're in their heads, man. So I can't wait to see that. If we play them in the playoffs and stuff like that, it's gonna be a lot of fun. We even beat the Bucks too. I was thinking about the Bucks in Christmas. We beat them in Christmas too. So we have real estate in a lot of these teams' heads, man. Once we're healthy, man, they're gonna have to come see us. And we're coming to see them too because we play pretty well on the road as well, man. So it's just a lot of stuff to be excited about with this club, man. I don't understand how anybody could look at it any different, man. This is a really amazing time to be a Knicks fan.
Yeah, great, John.
Yeah, I mean, you all said it all, man. I mean, that game yesterday was a gutted out victory. It's really just about a testament to Tibbs once again on how he has his team prepared to play every game. He says, worry about the game that's in front of us, right? That's his motto. He's not worried about games in the future or games in the past. He's worried about the game that's right in front of him. You take it game by game, and I think the players see it. The players understand it. They understand where they want to go is to the playoffs, and how they got to get there is by grinding it out, and they're going to do everything in their possible way to get it done, whether you're undermanned or not. I think we're just in a good place right now, and I think we just got to keep pulling out some of these victories. It's not going to be easy. We got a road trip right now, coming into a road trip that's not going to be easy, and they got to grind it out. They got to get in where they fit in, and make timely hoops and keep hustling, all heart, no quit, and hopefully we come up with some victories, man. I'm looking forward to the next few games. I am locking in March 18th as the first date for players to come back. I'm hoping OG. I'm thinking OG and Randu March 18th. I think that's against the Warriors away. And I'm thinking on the 23rd, we may see a Mitchell Robinson sighting on the 23rd. That's a home game against.
Okay. All right. Well, let's see. We got to put it in the pot, man. Because Tony from Knicks and Bruises and MBK is like, he thinks guys are coming back on Sunday. That's man,
early.
On the 10th. Yeah. So
that'll be great. But that's early. How many games do you think the Knicks team needs? And this is for everyone here. How many games do you think this team currently as constructed needs to gel going into the playoffs? How many would you say would be, like best case scenario, worst?
10. I'd say 8 to 10. Where I think you can feel good about it. It's enough time for guys to get that conditioning back. If they play 8 to 10 games before the playoffs, I think they could be, and they're healthy. Yeah, I think that would bode well for them. 8 to 10 games together, healthy. Yeah, go with that.
That's good. I like
what
that.
You think?
I agree with that. Yeah, I agree with that too. I was thinking 5, but 8 to 10 is right. But five games. Let's say if they do come back 5 games, whatever, they can look at each other and be like, "Yo, we got something going." Even if they lose, they can look at each other and listen, man, we back, and I could feel it. You know what I'm saying? So I'm really hoping that energy comes through once they show up and they see each other. They can look at each other's eyes and say, "Yo, man, we got something here," and we can take it to the playoffs.
Who sees that?
What are you thinking?
It's the form Voltron, our form. You know what I mean? He got that whole I form Voltron. So the secret's going on. I look at your eyes, you look at mine. All right, let's go.
What are you thinking, John?
I'm thinking 8 to 10. I'm thinking 8 to 10 because I like what I'm saying. Like the 18th, that's around 10 games, right there. I think the 18th makes 10 games left. 23rd, probably a little less, right? So I'm thinking 8 to 10. I'm right around there.
Well, I'll tell you, I'm possibly on like the 6 to 7, right? Because my whole thing is if guys come back with 7 games left, right, and the next 4 games they lose, but they win those next 3 going into the playoffs, I'm like, oh, we right. I'm like, we good. Watch out.
All you need is 3.
I'm thinking,
give me them 3.
You said Voltron. I'm thinking of the Power Rangers. Like, it's Morphin time, As soon as they get together, it's like, yes, let's go, man, Oh my God.
So we'll see what happens, guys. I can't wait. But real quick, I wanted to get to our BBG of the night. You guys know the BBG, which is funny, it's a play on words, but our BBG for this Cavs game was it was a good choice between different guys, but I got to go with the guy who he was hot and he gave us what we needed. The BBG was none other than Mr. Paisan himself, Mr. Dante DiVincenzo. Yeah, let's go, baby. 28 points, 6 rebounds, 4 assists, 3 steals on 50% shooting from the field, 42.9% shooting from 3. He was cooking with all types of tomato sauce, baby. That's right. The Paisan was cooking. Donnie was back in New York. And I'm not talking about Donnie Baseball for you Yankee fans. I know that's your guy, but he's not my guy. It is what
I
it
thought
is.
you meant Donnie Wahlberg or something.
No, it could be Donnie Wahlberg, but
you know,
we got a Dante. We got a Dante, but he could be short. You know, it could be a Donnie. Anyway, but yeah, that was.
I gotta be on my best
BBG.
behavior, man. You said BBG, I'm like BBG. I'm thinking something else.
I know.
I
know.
Come on, you.
I know. Thank you for coming. Thank you for coming to the show, bro. Thank you for coming to the show. All right. Well, listen. Is there anything out there that we need to be worrying about? Anything? Is this segment? Is there something going on right now that we should be paying attention to? Anybody out there got something for us?
No.
I don't know. Maybe he does. Maybe he doesn't.
What's going on, fellas?
Hey, Jose's
Jose?
in the building.
Oh, there he goes.
Yeah,
The voice of God in the background, Jose.
Yeah, they don't pay me enough, so I only show up for like 3 minutes during the entire show.
He works on stipends.
Yeah. What's up, Jose?
Not much, man. What's going on with you?
Hanging in there, getting tape day by day, baby, day by day.
Day by day?
Yeah, I don't think we can hear Jose though.
I can't hear.
Oh, you can't hear him?
Yeah, we can hear
okay.
him.
Well,
I think it's in your
he says
imagination. Jose doesn't exist, I don't think, man.
Yeah. He's feeling good. He's feeling good.
Sorry, fellas. Like I said, they don't pay me enough, so the budget gets cut a little bit. So I'm only able to speak to 2 people at the same time. That's the problem.
Right. What you got for us, brother?
All right, ladies and gentlemen, it's our favorite segment of the evening, and that is our predictions for this week. Now, we got 3 games coming up this week, and this is the moment where both Ron and John will argue, debate, and figure out who they predict, whether the Knicks is going to win the game or lose the game, and see who will be the king of predictions for this week. Take it away, fellas.
Okay. All right. You want to go first, John?
No, listen. I gotta hand this off to my brother from another mother, right?
No,
here,
no,
Eru.
no.
Eru's gonna pick for me.
You don't gotta hand off anything.
No. Eru, what you thinking, bro? I'm going with your picks, man.
I got wins all across the board. I can never go against my Knicks.
That's what I'm talking about.
Oh,
wins across the board.
All right. You know what I'm gonna do? Because since you want to be, getting a little funky with it, okay, Dex. Listen, I trust in you, brother. My voice.
They just
will
passed
be
it on
heard
to us, Eru. They just
through
passed
your
it on.
thoughts. Who you got
fun.
in these next 3 games, brother?
It's funny. I got some good vibes. I think Nick's gonna have good vibes coming on this. I gotta have you match John right here. So I'm going dubs across the board. Wins. They're gonna win these, get these W's. I think the Knicks are gonna go into that game on Sunday against Philly, having won 3 in a row. I think it's gonna be a good week for the Knicks. And hopefully Brunson comes back at least by the Orlando game. But I definitely think they get their win against Atlanta. Handle business at Orlando, Philly again. Philly's reeling. This is a big week for the Knicks. They gotta get some good wins at home for sure. I'm going 3 wins. 3-0. 3-0.
All right, there we go. There you have Ron and John's pick. Yes. There it is, folks.
I mean, the whole
wins
show
across
costs
the board.
Knicks fans, right? So, you guys have faith in this team, and we love it. If they end up, these predictions end up being wrong, then we understand why you can't be on the show next time, but that's a different story.
Yeah, if it's wrong, don't blame me, man. Don't call me. Me and Eru, we had nothing to do with this.
With that being said,
Well,
gentlemen, it's always a pleasure. I'm out of here.
Later, Jose.
Thank you, Jose. Appreciate you,
Thanks,
my
Jose.
brother. All right. Well, let's
right.
get around. Eru, appreciate you for joining us and helping us co-host here. Where can people find you next, brother?
I mean, 18 is for the year I started doing this, man. So at this point, Diehardknicks Podcast, you can find that just by Googling it. I do watch-alongs for every Knicks game, and then I'm trying to get busy with a little bit more content too, like I used to do, man. So definitely trying to work.
All right. Appreciate you, brother. Dexter, as always, man, it's a pleasure having you. Definitely enjoyed chopping up with you. I told you, and
Yes.
John and Jose agreed with the sentiments as well, man. The last time we had you on the show, it was a breath of fresh air. It was fantastic to be able to pick your brain, learn about your life story, and also support and salute the type of work you're doing and how open you have been with the Knicks community, continuing to give not only people opportunities to have you on their show to help grow their platforms, but also allowing them to come on your show and get into Nick talk and open their world up to different avenues. So I can't thank you enough for everything you're doing on behalf of myself, John, Jose, Eru here as well, and the Nick community. We support you and salute you. But what do you have going on next, or where can we find you, brother?
Thank you, man. I just want to say I appreciate you guys very much. And, Ron, I told you got to come up to the show. I got to get you there. Eru, we got to connect too, for sure. I got to get you on the show as well, too, because you're doing great work. And I love what you guys are doing. But everybody can follow me at DHenryTV. You can check me out, SNY and New York Post YouTube channels. We have 2 different shows. We got the Rapid Rundown we do on Saturdays. We talk the 3 hottest topics in sports that I do. And also a new basketball show we've been doing, New York Got Game. We talk a lot of Knicks on that. We talk all New York basketball, but we do definitely have a heavy focus on the Knicks. So definitely come and support it. You'll see different Knicks content creators on there, journalists, everybody's on there. So, we just welcome and open it up to, if you're doing good work, you can come through. That's pretty much the vibes that it is. But I thank everybody for the support. Salute to you guys and what you're doing. Here are still Knicks fans. Much love to all the Knicks content creators out there, because you guys support me too. Nobody is anything without the people. And I do believe that all the time. And we have to support each other, especially as journalists, content creators of color. We have to support each other. So, I love that. And I love seeing, we talked about this before we came on. I love seeing the love in the community with that. I think that's beautiful. So just keep the love, positive vibes. We all love watching some hoops and get to talk some hoops, and it's good. So thank you guys for having me again. Appreciate it.
Appreciate you. Thank you for being here with us, man. John?
Absolutely.
You know how we do, man. Your final words, brother?
Sir. Final words. Everybody out there, much love and success out there. Peace and blessings. Good health. Looking forward to the next one, man. Peace. Be safe.
There you go. Hey, listen, guys. Thank you, Dex. Thanks, Eru. You guys know, hey, as I always say, tell a friend who tells a friend who tells another friend. Still, Knicks fans, we'll be back again, whether it be on Mondays at 9 p.m. for SKF Weekly, Thursdays or Fridays, depending on the Knicks schedule. We do the wrap up on Nothing But Knicks, and we're working. We work. It's a work in progress right now, but we're going to get the wrap up when we get into our hip hop talks and stuff. Back on the Front Stoop, which is also a Simeon Russell channel. So looks like we may be launching another show this week. I mean, so bear with us. We're trying to tweak some things and make it look a little better. And then if you thought that wasn't enough, it's not. Because on Saturdays, I got Know the Ledge, where I have an open panel, and sometimes it's a 4 or 5 hour show, and I'm rocking and we rocking, and I'm talking people off the ledge. So please tune in and show your love for everything we got going on, man. Once again, this has been great. I enjoyed this conversation with all these brothers, man. This is what it's all about for me. And it's not just about watching our Knicks and enjoying that, but also being able to talk about it with like-minded individuals. It's a pleasure and a blessing. So thank you, guys. Have a great night. We'll catch you on the next one. We out.
Freedom over fame. Freedom over cycle stays the same.